My gay husband didn't just cheat on me. He slept with my brother on our wedding night. I can still hear the music from the reception, muffled through the hotel suite walls. The room was dim, romantic, candles flickering, rose petals on the bed. I was sitting there in my tuck shirt, unbuttoned, waiting for Adrian to come upstairs so we could finally be alone. Husband and husband. We just said I do hours earlier in front of 112 friends and family. My mother cried. His father toasted us. Everyone believed in us. I believed in us. But Adrian never came upstairs. At first I thought he'd just gotten caught up helping a drunk guest, or maybe dealing with the venue staff. But after 30 minutes I called. No answer. I texted. No reply. My heart started pounding for no reason I could explain. Something just felt off. So I went looking. The hotel was quiet by then. Most of the guests had turned in or left for the night. I checked the bar, the lobby, even outside. Then something pulled me toward the hallway where the guest rooms were, specifically toward the one room I deliberately put on a different floor from ours, my brother Nathan's. I'll never forget what I saw when I opened that door. I wasn't supposed to be able to get in, but I knew Nathan too well. His door was cracked, a rookie mistake for someone doing something so dark, and there they were. Adrian, my husband of 6 hours, was in bed with my brother, shirts off, entwined, whispering and laughing like teenagers at a sleepover. They didn't even notice me right away. When they did, the color drained from Adrian's face like he'd seen a ghost. Nathan didn't flinch. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared. I think in that moment, my heart shut down. Something broke inside me, but something else clicked into place. Because they had no idea I already knew their secret. They thought they were being clever, that this was a one-time mistake, but this betrayal had been years in the making, and I'd been waiting for the right moment to expose everything. They thought they were ruining my life. They didn't realize they just handed me the perfect ending. I didn't sleep that night, not in the wedding suite, not anywhere. I couldn't. My body was still. My mind was on fire. I sat on the edge of the bed in my tux pants, hands clenched, still wearing my wedding band like it meant something. I stared at the tiny smear of red lipstick on a champagne glass left on the nightstand. Adrian's aunt, probably. I remembered her crying when she hugged me and called me nephew. The silence in that room was unbearable. So I left. I walked the city for hours, long after the streets emptied, trying to understand how the man I'd loved for 5 years could be naked in my brother's bed on our wedding night. But the more I thought about it, the more the blind spots came into focus. The first time I introduced Adrian to my brother Nathan, I remembered the awkward handshake. I thought it was nerves. Then months later, there was that night I came home early from work and found them laughing on the couch, heads close together. A weird tension in the room when I entered. They told me they were just talking about my surprise birthday party, and I believed them. Then there were the canceled plans. The business trip Adrian took to Miami the same weekend Nathan posted a cryptic story of a friend by the pool, shoulders and jawline conveniently cropped. I even joked about it once, teasing that my husband and brother were closer than I thought. Adrian smiled. Nathan laughed. And now, thinking back, it was too much. I wasn't crazy. I just didn't want to see it. When I finally got back to our place that morning, Adrian had the audacity to act like nothing happened. He was in the kitchen making eggs, whistling, wearing a t-shirt that still smelled like my brother's cologne. I stood in the doorway staring at him. He looked up and smiled like he hadn't just burned our entire life to the ground. "There you are. I was worried. Where'd you go?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed more. Proof. I needed to know how deep this betrayal went before I made my move. If I confronted him too soon, I'd only get lies. So I bit down the fury, nodded, and mumbled something about walking to clear my head. Over the next week, I became an actor in my own marriage. I played the part of the doting husband, cooking breakfast, sending texts, kissing him on the cheek, while secretly picking apart every moment of our relationship. I combed through old texts, emails, calendar invites. I even dug out the iPad Adrian barely used, the one still linked to his iCloud. He'd forgotten it existed. Rookie mistake. That's where I found it. Hidden inside his notes app. 3 folders. One named Fitness, one named Work, and one called N. My stomach dropped. Inside were dozens of entries, journal style, some short, some rambling. Dates going back over 3 years. And slept over again. Woke up to his hand on my chest. Felt like home. How long can we keep this going? I think he might leave his boyfriend soon. S says he suspects something. Need to be more careful. S. That was me. They had code names for me. Code names. In my own goddamn marriage. One note from 6 months ago stood out. It read, "Talk to N about the inheritance. If we play it right, we'll have access to it next year." He said S won't even see it coming. I dropped the iPad. Literally. It bounced on the rug and slid under the couch. My heart was pounding so hard it drowned out every sound in the room. This wasn't just a fling. This wasn't just sex. Adrian and Nathan had been planning something, using me, lying to me, stealing from me, all while I was booking anniversary getaways and writing my wedding vows. I opened the browser history, searched passwords, found a second email account I'd never seen before. From there, I found a backup drive, and in that backup, I found videos, recordings, of them, together, in my house, one on our bed, another in the pool when I was away at a work retreat, once even in my goddamn office chair. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt something colder than rage. It was clarity. I wasn't just dealing with infidelity. I was dealing with a long con, a calculated betrayal orchestrated by the two people I should have been able to trust most in the world. And now I had proof, the kind of proof that ruins lives, the kind of proof that sets you free. But I wasn't going to walk away quietly. Number. If they wanted to play games, I'd play back, and I never lose. I became invisible in my own home, not by disappearing, but by blending in so well, so convincingly, that Adrian never once suspected I was watching him unravel in real time. It started with the iPad. I kept it charged and tucked into a drawer in my home office, syncing silently with his hidden email account. Every time a new message popped up from n.wellman91@gmail, I got a copy. I didn't read them all at once. I let them build, like snow piling on a roof before it collapses. Then came the AirTag. I slipped it into Adrian's briefcase one morning when he said he had an early investor breakfast in Midtown. I knew the place. It didn't exist. I knew the people, because I was the one who introduced Adrian to half of them when he started building his startup 3 years ago. But that breakfast meeting? Fiction. The AirTag showed him at a hotel in Brooklyn. I didn't go there. I didn't need to. 10 minutes after he checked in, a lift pulled up. Nathan. I watched his location jump to the hotel, then disappear inside. I waited 3 hours. Then Adrian texted me a selfie from what looked like a WeWork space, saying he was wrapping up. The lights behind him were generic enough to pass. But his shirt collar? It was rumpled. He always carried a lint roller in his car, obsessively crisp. But not this time. They were getting sloppy. Or maybe they were just confident I'd never suspect. I stayed silent. That night, Adrian came home humming in the elevator. He kissed me on the neck and asked what I wanted for dinner. I told him sushi. He smiled like nothing in the world was wrong. Like he hadn't just spent the afternoon screwing my brother in a $280 per night hotel suite with a city view. He sat at the counter while I sliced ginger, talking about how we should plan a trip. Maybe Bali or Lisbon. Something healing, he said. I almost choked on the irony. I leaned in and said, I'd love that. And I meant it. I was planning a trip of my own. While he scrolled through DoorDash, I excused myself and slipped into the bedroom, where I'd left a baby monitor running under the bed. I'd set up the receiver in the coat closet, and the tiny transmitter picked up everything. I didn't want just text messages or calendars. I wanted voice. Real conversations. That's how I got the call. He didn't wait long after I left. As soon as the bathroom door shut, he called Nathan. I heard it all. Yeah, I saw you leave, Adrian whispered, giggling softly. I wanted to pull you back in, but he was texting me the whole time. I had to pretend to be in that dumb investor meeting. No, he has no idea. He's planning a honeymoon. Yeah, I know. It's almost cute. Cute. I pressed my palm against the inside of the closet door to steady myself. The monitor crackled slightly. And then Nathan's voice filtered in through speakerphone. Keep it going. We're almost there. Has the lawyer said anything? Adrian sighed. Still waiting. He's so cautious about the trust fund, it's annoying. But once the paperwork clears and the accounts merge, we're golden. I froze. This wasn't just emotional betrayal. This was financial theft. Adrian wasn't just cheating on me. He was using our marriage to access a protected trust fund left by my grandfather. One that was meant for my education, home, and future. I'd never touched it after grad school, never needed to, but Adrian had always known it existed. He used to joke that I had secret rich kid money. Apparently the joke was on me. The next day I called my family attorney. I didn't tell her everything, just that I needed the trust restructured with a focus on privacy and security. I told her to freeze it pending review and to add dual authorization. She didn't ask questions. She knew me well enough to know something was wrong. After that, I got bolder. I activated an old iPhone, synced it with Adrian's second email, and kept it recording in the glove box of his car. I planted another AirTag in Nathan's gym bag when he came over for drinks that weekend. They didn't notice. Why would they? I was the fool, the trusting one. They thought they'd won. I found a burner phone in Adrian's nightstand drawer 3 days later. It was locked, but not for long. He used our anniversary date as the passcode. Inside were texts, hundreds of them, photos, voice notes, one that still echoes in my head. Nathan whispering, "Once he signs the joint property transfer, we can disappear, just you and me." I stared at that screen for a long time. Something sharp and dangerous moved through me. My hands stopped trembling. My thoughts cleared. It was no longer about heartbreak. This was war, and I wasn't going to fight like a victim. So I smiled at Adrian every morning. I brought him coffee in bed. I posted sweet anniversary throwbacks on Instagram. I even booked a weekend getaway to reconnect. Every move I made, every kiss on the cheek, every casual question I asked was designed to lower his guard. He was leaning into it, telling me how lucky he was, saying we should look at apartments in London. I looked at him like he was my future, but I was already planning his funeral. Not a literal one, but something worse, public, inevitable, irrevocable. And all I needed was the perfect moment to strike. By the time Adrian brought up our anniversary party, I already knew I'd be turning it into their funeral. He wanted something elegant. Chic but simple, he said. Rooftop venue, candles, curated playlists. He pictured champagne toasts and our song playing as we danced in front of friends and family. I pictured something else entirely, so I agreed, smiled, told him he deserved a night to be celebrated. I even handed him my card to book the venue. He was so proud of himself, so smug in his ability to orchestrate our perfect evening. What he didn't know was that I'd already contacted the venue manager 2 days earlier, and I gave very different instructions. There would be a projector, a microphone, a hardwired system set to override any streaming music, and most importantly, a timed Dropbox link set to play a folder I labeled The Truth. Inside that folder, video clips, voice notes, texts, photos, a presentation structured like a horror movie. One that started with love and ended in ashes. But I wasn't done. I needed them both off balance before the night arrived. So I set a smaller trap first, something subtle. Nathan still used the same gym I'd introduced him to years ago. One of those polished boutique spots with eucalyptus towels and overpriced smoothies. He always went in the morning, 7:30 sharp like clockwork. So one morning I waited in my car across the street, watched him strut in, smug as hell in his tight shorts and overpriced sunglasses. Then I went to the front desk. I told the receptionist I was Nathan, claimed I lost my access card and needed a new one. I'd already printed a fake license with his name and just enough resemblance to pass a lazy check. She handed me a new key, just like that. 10 minutes later, I was in the locker room. I found his bag. His phone was inside, unlocked. He was too arrogant to bother with Face ID. I knew his code anyway, our childhood street address. I airdropped everything I needed to myself. Photos, calendar invites, notes. One file in particular stood out. A PDF labeled willdraft-AG. It was Adrian's will, or a draft of it, and Nathan had written it. He wasn't just screwing my husband. He was preparing for the financial fallout when they dumped me. There were notes scribbled in the margins. Remove S once joint property clears. N gets condo. Discuss. Confirm offshore transfer WLM, urgent offshore, as in hidden money, fraud. I'd always known Nathan had a slippery moral compass, but this was another level. He was ready to erase me like I was a stain on their perfect little post-me life. Perfect. I wanted them confident. So that night, I brought Adrian flowers. Told him I'd booked a couple's massage for the weekend before the party. He blushed like a teenager. Said, "God, I love you." I smiled and whispered, "I love you too." Then I changed my will. Quietly, thoroughly. Everything I owned was redirected to a separate account under a trust Adrian couldn't touch. I removed him from every insurance policy, revoked power of attorney, froze our joint accounts under a vague claim of irregular activity. He didn't notice. His card still worked. I kept afloat in the debit account to avoid suspicion. But behind the scenes, the machine was already grinding. I contacted a lawyer friend, one who owed me after I got him through his nasty divorce. Told him I needed a public notary, a time-stamped affidavit, and pre-litigation letters drafted to protect myself against fraud, defamation, and misappropriation. "Are you sure you're on top?" he asked. "This sounds nuclear." "It is," I replied, "and I'm the one pressing the button." The week of the party, I called Nathan and invited him out to lunch. I hadn't spoken to him directly in over a month. He was wary at first, probably assuming I'd found something, but I played the role beautifully. Told him I missed him, said I wanted to fix our relationship. "I was thinking, maybe I've been unfair to you and Adrian," I said carefully, my voice just the right mix of wounded and hopeful. "Maybe I let my insecurities cloud things." Nathan's eyes softened. "Really?" "Yeah," I said, sipping my wine. "Let's start over." He toasted to that. Naive. Idiotic. Later that night, I sent Adrian a long, heartfelt message thanking him for staying patient with me. Said I felt ready to start fresh after the party. Told him I wanted to give him something special that night, something that would change everything. He responded with a heart emoji and a shirtless mirror selfie captioned, "Can't wait. Been dreaming about you all week." I saved the image. It would go perfectly in slide 6 of the presentation, right after the voice note of him saying my brother felt like home. I'd timed everything down to the second. They thought they were planning the rest of their lives together. But in 72 hours, they'd be lucky to still have reputations. The day of the party, Adrian was glowing. He buzzed around the penthouse venue in a cream linen suit, kissing cheeks, clinking glasses, charming our guests with the same perfect teeth and practiced warmth he once used to win me over. The rooftop twinkled with fairy lights and soft jazz. Friends from college mingled with old co-workers, all there to celebrate our love. I moved through the room like a ghost, smiling, hugging, thanking people for coming. But inside I was ice. Every camera was placed, every mic wired. The projector hidden beneath the DJ's console was tested 3 times before guests arrived. I'd told the AV techs it was a surprise anniversary montage. I suppose it was, in a way. At exactly 9:15, the DJ gave the agreed-upon nod. Adrian had just taken the mic to make a toast. "I just want to say," he began, glass raised high, "this man right here is the greatest gift I've ever been given. We've been through it all. Job losses, family drama, even a pandemic. But we came out stronger, more in love. I'm so excited for what's next." Applause, laughter. Then, the projector whirred to life. Adrian looked confused as the lights dimmed. "Oh, I didn't—" "Did you plan something, babe?" I stepped forward, placed my hand gently on his shoulder and said, "Just watch." Slide 1. A photo of our wedding day. Adrian holding me, both of us glowing. Slide 2. A calendar invite from Adrian's secret account. Hotel WN, 2 p.m. Slide 3. A blurry but unmistakable still from hotel lobby security footage. Adrian, Nathan, holding hands. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I could feel Adrian stiffen. What is this?" Slide 4. A voice note, Adrian whispering to Nathan. "He has no idea. He thinks we're going to Bali. Someone laughed. Someone else muttered, "Oh my God!" Adrian moved toward the DJ booth in a panic, but the console was locked. The audio kept playing. Slide 5. A screen recording of Adrian's burner phone messages. Dozens of texts. Him. He signed the form. 1 more month. Nathan. Trust is moving yet? Him. Soon. Just keep acting like we're still casual. The room was silent except for the soft echo of their betrayal. People turned to look at Adrian. Some looked at me. Others started whispering to each other. I stepped forward, took the mic from Adrian, and spoke clearly. I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate what was supposed to be our 6th anniversary. I had planned a speech, but instead I thought it was more fitting to let Adrian and my own brother tell you in their own words how they've been celebrating behind my back for the past year. Adrian reached for the mic. I pulled it away. And since Nathan couldn't be here tonight, oh wait, he is. Heads turned. Nathan stood near the entrance, frozen, holding a gift bag, clearly late, having just walked into the middle of his own exposure. He saw his face, his naked chest on the projector, saw his name, his words. The gift bag dropped. I nodded toward the tech, and the final slide appeared. A signed affidavit from my attorney confirming the freezing of all joint assets, removal of Adrian from my will, and full copies of financial irregularities submitted for audit, along with pending litigation for attempted fraud. Adrian's face went pale. I turned back to the crowd, still holding the mic. For those wondering, yes, I knew. I've known for months. I chose tonight because I wanted you all to see exactly who you've been toasting, who you've been calling relationship goals. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I let the silence do the work. One of our mutual friends started clapping, hesitantly at first, then another, and another. Within seconds, the room exploded in applause. Not for Adrian, but for me, for surviving, for burning it down without shedding a tear. Adrian tried to speak again, but no one was listening. Nathan had already slipped out the door, chased by a cousin with a phone recording every second. I walked off the rooftop and into the elevator, down 12 floors into the waiting car I'd scheduled. Inside was my suitcase and a folder of finalized documents. Divorce, property separation, asset protection. I looked out at the city skyline as the car pulled away. Behind me, Adrian's empire of lies was collapsing in real time. In front of me, freedom. I checked my phone. A message from the AV tech. They're still up there arguing. You want the raw footage? I replied, definitely. I think it'll do well online. Then I leaned back in the seat, finally fully exhaling. But I wasn't done yet. There was still the matter of what Nathan had tried to do behind the scenes. And I wasn't leaving until he paid his price too. 2 days after the party, Nathan showed up at my door, looking like a man who'd seen a ghost. He was shaking, pale, red-rimmed eyes. I didn't let him in. He stood there, a duffel bag over one shoulder, his voice trembling, as he said, I didn't know he was going to leave you like that. I thought we had time. I never meant... I closed the door before he could finish. He stood there for another minute, like he expected me to come back. I didn't. By then, I'd already met with my lawyer twice. The trust I'd set up before the party was airtight. Adrian couldn't touch the condo, the car, or even the artwork we'd bought on vacation. Everything was locked behind layers of legal insulation. I'd even transferred ownership of my business to a holding company. No loopholes. And Nathan? Well, he had bigger problems. The offshore transfer notes I'd found in his locker weren't just idle scribbles. I'd submitted them, along with the entire PDF draft of Adrian's will, to the Internal Revenue Service and the State Attorney General's office. I had no idea how deep the fraud ran, but I knew Nathan had used Adrian's connections to move some of that money. Turns out forging someone's draft while conspiring to remove the rightful beneficiary isn't just unethical, it's criminal. He was being investigated, quietly but seriously. 3 weeks after the party, I received an anonymous tip, probably from someone inside Adrian's law firm. Nathan had been placed on unpaid leave from his job. He was crashing on a friend's couch downtown, and his Instagram had gone dark. Meanwhile, Adrian was bleeding from every side. His image as the polished, brilliant, loving husband was in tatters. Half of his client base had dropped him in the days following the party. The video presentation I'd arranged, complete with voice notes, messages, and receipts, had been accidentally leaked onto a private group chat full of gay professionals in the city. From there, it made its way to TikTok. The clip where he whispered, "He has no idea," hit 2.7 million views before it was taken down. By then, the damage was done. He called once. I let it go to voicemail. He said, "I messed up. I know that. But what you did, you destroyed my life. I loved you once. Doesn't that count for something?" I deleted the message without replying. It did count once, but not anymore. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just end love. It vaporizes it, turns it to something hard and cold, something sharp enough to build a sword from. And I used it. I wasn't proud of the rage I carried in those months, but I also wasn't ashamed of what I did with it. Revenge isn't always about ruining someone. Sometimes it's about making damn sure they can never rewrite the story in their favor. Adrian would never again walk into a room where someone didn't already know. Nathan would never forget the moment he saw his face on that rooftop screen, caught in the act, humiliated in front of everyone who ever mattered. And me, I healed. Slowly, quietly. I started seeing a therapist, picked up pottery, took a solo trip to Portugal where I watched the ocean for hours and felt, for the first time in years, like I was actually breathing. I learned how to be alone again. Not lonely, just alone. There's a difference. One night, months later, I sat in a small bar by the water, sipping a drink, when a guy struck up a conversation. He was kind, gentle, curious without pushing. There was no grand spark, no fireworks, but it felt calm. That's when I realized the real win wasn't the revenge, as perfect as it was. It was that I'd found myself again. I wasn't Adrian's husband or Nathan's brother. I was me, and I'd never let anyone take that away again.